Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Leslie, and if you like videos on budgeting and decluttering and just general commentary, you are in the right place, so definitely subscribe for more videos. So for today's video, I wanted to talk a little bit about side hustles. If you are looking up budgeting related videos, you will absolutely find some that have to do with side hustles and having multiple streams of income and just how to increase your income in that way. So whenever I see these videos, I always kind of roll my eyes because the people who are making the videos always make it sound so easy. And as someone who has had multiple streams of income and multiple side hustles, it is not easy and it is not a quick fix. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the reality of side hustles, also some commentary on grind culture and why these side hustles are even necessary and how frustrating it can be. And also, I will give you some ideas if side hustles are something you're looking into, because I would be an absolute hypocrite if I told you that side hustles were always bad and you should never do them. They can actually really come in handy. So since I have tried a few and just have some other recommendations, I'll add that at the end, and I will definitely add some timestamps if you would like to skip around. So let's just jump into the first thing, and that is 7 unrealistic expectations that people have when starting a side hustle. So these are things you should keep in mind when you see those videos that are recommending different side hustles. So the first one is that side hustles are quick and easy money. And this is an absolute lie. They are almost always not quick and not easy. There are always exceptions to any rule. So you will always find someone who is making a ton of money right off the bat. Maybe they start a YouTube channel and they get 10,000 subs in their first month, 1,000 in their first week, just all these crazy numbers that are so hard to hit. So people see these and they'll think, oh, I'm going to do this or that. I'm going to start making thousands of dollars. I'm going to have this huge stream of income with very little work, and that is just not the case, unfortunately. I wish it was, but it's not. Some of these things, especially with passive income, there are definitely things that will eventually become passive income. And again, I'll talk more about that at the end. But this is one thing I've done with some of my digital products. So between Etsy, my digital products, those are things that I have made up front without getting paid. And then I post on Etsy and then they can sell over and over because they're digital. So in the beginning, I am making no money, but I have all of this time commitment and I'm just crossing my fingers that what I'm making is going to sell. So obviously, if you're doing something like that, research is super important because you want to make sure that your time is going to pay off. And obviously, it should be something that you enjoy. But even with this, it still does not make it easy. It takes a lot of work. One of my least favorite things to do is actually make the listings and put the stuff on Etsy because it is so time consuming and it takes so much research because you need to know what are your keywords, what are the market prices. There are just all these factors you need to consider. So the same thing can be said for something like YouTube. So this is actually my second YouTube channel. This one is a little more slow growing compared to my first one. So my first channel was Macrame Tutorials, and I always have that linked in the description if that's something you're interested in. The Macrame Tutorials, that channel just actually really took off when I started. So tutorials are very popular on YouTube, obviously. So if you do tutorial type videos or anything educational, you're probably going to get a decent amount of hits if your video is good quality and you're using the right keywords to get it out there. So with that channel, I actually have just under 20,000 subs and I haven't even posted on there in like a few years. I really just don't post tutorials anymore and I still get subs here and there. It's actually kind of interesting that it's still growing. If you can find a niche that is popular and you like catch on to the algorithm, then you can really get a good following and actually make some decent money. But even though that channel grew pretty quickly, I still didn't make a crazy amount of money. I think the most I ever made was 400 in a month. So just under 100 a week. That's really not that much for having to make videos and post them because tutorials are really hard to make. You have to make sure you break down all the steps in a way that people can understand. It's just a whole process. So for the amount of work I was doing, I really didn't get a whole lot back. But the good thing is that even after I stopped posting tutorial videos, I was still getting income from those for like the next 2 years, I think. Obviously the income was going down because I was getting less views from not being as active, but that's something where it was a lot of work up front. while I was posting, and then it became more passive. So even after I wasn't posting, I was still bringing in income. The only thing that is kind of sucks with that is that it did fall off eventually. I actually lost my monetization on that channel because I didn't post for so long. Actually, I think I lost it. I don't even remember now. I know I'm not making money from it. So whether or not I'm eligible, I don't know. But I'm not making money from it anymore. So that is something that you have to keep in mind. So even if something is fairly passive, you do still have to keep up with it. Like on Etsy, I still need to make sure I'm not getting questions from customers. I do need to post products here and there just to keep my shop relevant. So there's just no such thing as quick and easy money for most people. Another thing that I'm sure you have seen with some of these side hustle videos is just follow these 3 easy steps, these 10 easy steps. Just follow this cookie cutter process and you will make money. This is a lie for most people. I always want to throw in that disclaimer because you never know. So I don't want to discourage you if this is something that you're interested in. Like I said, I've had tons of side hustles. So if you're really interested, I mean, give it a shot, but don't expect to just follow the simple steps someone is laying out and then just start bringing in money. If the method is that easy to copy, then I'm sure many other people are copying it and it is going to be harder for you to stand out. There's going to be that much more competition. So one thing in recent years, well, not even recent, it's been going on for a while, is print on demand. So things where you will have a design for a t-shirt or a mug, or you can put it on all different types of products. You will sell that product through a third party. So you're kind of like the middleman where you post the images that are going to print, and then a third party will print those and ship them, like drop shipping. So print on demand, drop shipping type stuff. All of that stuff is, I don't want to say it's easy, it's fairly simple. So it's something that a lot of people can do. And even if you can't draw or make the designs yourself, you can actually buy them and use them for, make sure they're for commercial use, and then you can do it yourself that way. So you can actually buy the designs. So you're using a third party to get your designs, a third party to print and ship. So you would just be bringing in the money. But there are a lot of downsides to this. For one, if you're doing it that way, then a lot of other people are. I tend to see, you can even see this if you search on something like Etsy, where you'll see the same design over and over on different products because multiple people bought that same design and they're all using it on their products. So it's not unique anymore. And most people will just look at whatever's the cheapest, or maybe if one shop has a lot more sales and reviews, they might go with someone who seems more legit. But the point is, you're going to have a lot of competition if you do it that way. And also with that, some people do really well with that sort of thing, but there's a fair amount of luck with that, or also finding your niche. So that's going to be your target audience. So it's not a super broad group of people, but not so small that you're not going to make money. It's a decent size group that is going to be drawn to your products. So something might be, if there's a particular hobby, so say people like me who crochet and knit might be drawn to like a saying that has to do with yarn. So if you have a product that has a saying on it that has to do with yarn, then you're going to have a lot of fiber artists who are drawn to that product. So that might be your niche. So if you are able to find a decent niche and make money with that, that's a good way to do it. But again, this can be a really tough one if you're just following the exact cookie cutter steps that someone is telling you. You really need a way to stand out apart from that. So just be wary of that kind of thing, because a lot of that is more clickbait and they're just trying to make money for themselves off their video. This isn't true for everyone. I don't want to call anyone out and accuse them of that, but I mean, they are making money from your views if they're monetized. So they're going to get you to click on their videos. So if you're finding these side hustle videos and things just seem almost too simple, they might be. Number 3 is going to be more hustles equals more money. That makes sense, right? You would assume the more income streams you have, the more money you're getting, but that isn't necessarily true, because if you have too many income streams, you're going to be spreading yourself so thin that you're going to be missing things with your different income streams. So maybe you're not as good with marketing or doing your research because you're so focused on other things. So spreading yourself too thin is definitely something to be aware of. So it might be better for you to focus on 1 or 2 things. And this is something where my different income streams and the different things I do, I have some overlap. So I had my Etsy macrame shop, and then I made my YouTube channel that was about macrame. And then at one point I actually had my website where I was selling my macrame on there as well. So all of these things kind of connected to each other, and it made it a little easier to manage everything. So the same keywords might apply to different platforms. The pricing structure for like my website versus Etsy were pretty similar. Just, it was a lot easier to manage these things that were all like loosely connected. And that's the same with starting my second Etsy shop. So I was already on Etsy. I knew how Etsy worked. So I knew the fee structure. I knew the target market. It was really easy to set up a second Etsy shop after I had the first. And that can also be said for YouTube. Even though this channel is growing a lot slower because it's very different than my other channel, I do kind of have my background already on YouTube. So at the very least, I know how to research things for search engine optimization. I know how to make the videos. I know how to upload them. I know to be on a good schedule. I know to reply to comments. I know all of these things from my other channel. So once you get one side hustle under your belt, you might be able to kind of expand from that, which is totally fine. What you don't want to do is have too many things that are completely separated. And another thing with this is going to be, you don't want to have too many side hustles that require your time. So you want to have some things that are passive. You don't want to be doing like YouTube and driving for Uber and doing haircuts from home on the side, or doing nails also. Like, these are all things that require a time commitment. So you can't be driving for Uber and doing someone's nails at the same time. So it's just going to take up more of your time, because these are all things that need you there in the moment actually doing it. So if you have things that are more passive, like I was talking about with digital products, or even things like having a high yield savings account or investing where you're making money in the background, those are more long term, but that's still something that's passive that you can do. So keep that in mind with the things you're deciding on. Anyway, the next thing is going to be the expectation that there is no upfront risk or upfront cost. And that, I honestly can't believe people would think there's no upfront cost or risk at all, because pretty much everything has that. Even if you're getting just a normal hourly job, you're probably going to have to buy a work wardrobe or put gas in your car. I mean, take time off from your current job to go to an interview. I mean, there's all kinds of risks and investments whenever you're starting a new job. So the same thing is going to be true for side hustles. The same thing is going to be true for side hustles. So aside from the monetary investment, you're going to need to invest your time to build your skills. So a lot of the things that I've done, I didn't know how to do any of this stuff. I didn't know how to use YouTube. I didn't know how to use Etsy. I didn't know how to make digital products. There's a lot of stuff I didn't know. I didn't know how to macrame. I learned macrame from YouTube tutorials. So I didn't know how to do a lot of things, and it took a lot of time invested to get good enough to do something like make my own tutorials. So not only did I have to learn how to do it, I needed to learn how to perfect what I was doing so that I could tell other people how to do it. Maybe you're just doing general freelancing where you're setting up Excel sheets for people or making PDF forms, which I have done. Maybe you're doing something like that on Upwork where you're just taking these random jobs. You're going to have to increase your skills so that you know what you're doing, because you don't have a team of people that you can just call. You don't have your own IT support. You're going to have to figure this stuff out on your own. And honestly, with some things, this is where it comes in handy to just know how to use Google, how to use YouTube, know what to search. ChatGPT is amazing. If you're using ChatGPT, you might want to double check and make sure it's correct, because I've definitely come across some incorrect information before. But just make sure you have resources that you can use and you'll be fine. But the point is that you're going to have to invest some of your time. In addition to time and money, another thing you might have to do is market. So you might need to market your products. You might need to market yourself. Maybe you're just staying local and you're someone who's really good at nails and you want to be able to just do that out of your home. You're going to have to market your services. So post flyers, tell people you know, whatever it is. So the fifth unrealistic expectation is that you will be able to set it and forget it when it comes to your side hustle. So this is what I was talking about with passive income versus something you're going to have to actually invest your time in. So something like Uber, where you have to be there to drive, versus selling digital products where you can just set it and forget it in that case. But no matter what, even if it is something that you can just set and leave alone, you're going to have to invest some of your time, like I mentioned in the previous examples. So you will need to add more products, more videos, things to keep yourself relevant. Make sure people understand that you're still around, because maybe someone comes across my macrame YouTube channel and they see that my last video is from years ago. Then they're like, oh, she's not going to post. Why do I want to subscribe? Which is fine with me now. But if you're someone who wants to build your following more, then that's something you really need to pay attention to. So also, as your competition may build, trends change, so you might want to be changing your keywords. Pricing changes, you always want to make sure you're keeping up with the market prices and set your pricing accordingly. Pricing is one that is kind of subjective. I know everyone does it a little bit different, but I tend to look at the market price and just go with what's there. And a big one for YouTube is that algorithms change, so you never know if you're still going to be in the algorithm. So the point is, you need to do a lot of research to make sure everything is still getting to the people who you want to see it. All right, number 6 is one that I also can't believe that people believe, and that is, if you love it, the money will come. No, it won't. So just because you love doing something doesn't mean that you're going to just automatically make money from it. Even people who are doing things they love and they're making money, it took a lot of time and maybe some money. It took a lot to get to where they are now. So just because it's something you love does not mean the money is just going to fall into your lap. It's going to take work. Or at the very least, maybe even just knowing the right people. But it's going to take more than you just doing the thing you love. And the 7th one is actually pretty common, but that is, people assume that you don't have to pay taxes on your side hustle. And this is not true. You are a business making income, so you need to pay taxes on it. And taxes, they're different everywhere. My business is registered in my state, so I have to fill out a sales tax form. But it's so annoying because I pretty much only sell on Etsy. And if I sell it on Etsy, the sales tax is automatic. So I always owe them nothing. So every quarter, I have to fill out this stupid form that says I owe $0. And I've done that like 20 times. It's a lot. So just make sure you're registered at the proper places, depending on what you're doing. I mean, if you're just making money in your home, I don't know that you need an actual business license for something like that, but you are making income that you need to report on your taxes. So make sure no one's going to come after you for the income that you're getting. I know, I think it was with Biden that they made it anything over $600 you have to report on your taxes. Because I know with Upwork, I do some freelancing, but I don't make that much. I just pick up something here and there. So I don't pass that $600 threshold usually. And they said that they wouldn't be sending me tax forms because I was under $600. So if you're under $600, I mean, you might be fine. Look into that more. But yeah, make sure you know the proper taxes that you owe and then the tax requirements within your state. Assuming you're in the US. If you're outside the US, I have no idea. So definitely do your own research there also. So one thing that I also wanted to talk about a bit is grind culture and hustle culture and just how prevalent it is. I think a lot of people are starting to wake up to the fact that we shouldn't have to do this if we don't want to. I know with my extra income, it's because it's things that I like to do. And I did talk in one video recently about hobbies, that you shouldn't feel pressured to monetize your hobbies. Because with social media, and people around you, people will be like, oh, you should sell that. You should not feel that kind of pressure to monetize the things you love if you don't want to. But in my case, I actually don't mind. So with my macrame shop, I still do my macrame stuff, even though I don't make the video tutorials, just because I enjoy it. So if you're someone who enjoys what you do and you would like a side hustle with something like that, that's totally fine. The fact that we almost need them at this point to be able to afford anything is very disheartening and just not fair, honestly. And it just says a lot about companies who don't want to pay their employees properly so that they don't have to have these multiple streams of income. I mean, when I was growing up, I had 2 working parents. They worked their normal 9 to 5. My mom actually just worked part-time. So my dad worked his 9 to 5. My mom worked part-time 9 to 5. And we could afford so much. I mean, we had 2 cars, a house, they had 2 kids, like the whole middle class, American dream really. And now we can't even do that. And it's so frustrating. And also one of the sad realities of side hustle culture is that you don't see all of the things that failed. So for me, like I've had failed websites. I'm not someone who can keep up a website. So those were all failures. I've had failed books. I tried Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing and that didn't work out very well. I do have a few on there right now, but they pretty much don't sell. So that didn't work out. I mean, I've definitely had my fair share of failures, and pretty much anyone who is doing side hustles has probably had theirs as well. So that makes it even more unfortunate if you need multiple income streams that you may not be able to make enough from those side hustles to offset the cost of living. So I actually found a couple of TikToks that said it better than me. So let's watch this first one.
Am I the only one that doesn't like hustle culture? Why do I need an LLC? Why do I need multiple streams of income? Why am I lazy if I don't want to be an entrepreneur? Why can't I just be normal? You got to lose sleep. You're going to lose family members. You got to work 90 million hours a week. Why do I have to do that? I like what I have. I'm cool with what I got. I'm trying to figure out what in history happened where enough no longer became enough. And who decided that luxury or lavish living was the best way to live?
So that is so true. I mean, he said it best. Like, it's not for everyone who decided that this is what we have to do. And I just completely agree with that we really shouldn't have to do this. I mean, I'm someone who I want a very modest life. And the fact that I have to have side hustles to make up my income when my husband and I have a really solid income. I don't want to give the exact amount, but it's a lot. Like, I don't want to say it's like a lot, but it's a good amount. So between the two of us, and we live in a 2-bedroom apartment in a high cost of living area. So our rent is $2,000 a month. We have preschool costs. Our daughter, she went to daycare at one place and they have a preschool program. So we kept her in the preschool program, and that is like not quite $1,500 a month. So that's almost $3,500 a month right there, just between rent and daycare / preschool. So it's the cost of everything is just out of control. And that's actually on the low side of daycare. I've heard people pay way more than that. And same with rent. Like I've heard people have 2-bedroom apartments for like $3,000 and up. I mean, and we're already in a high cost area, so I can't even imagine. But it's just so frustrating that this is how it is now. I remember when I first started my Etsy shop, no one was doing side hustles. I mean, I don't want to be a hipster about it and say I was one of the first, but I mean, it was really uncommon back then. That was 2009, I think I started my first one. And I mean, people would kind of sell things on eBay, or, you know, Etsy did have shops on there already, obviously. So people would have their little Etsy shops, but it was just not even close to how things are now. And I remember delivery services, they were just non-existent. I remember we could get Chinese, Jimmy John's pizza, or Wingstop, I think. And those were like the 4 places that would deliver. And it was like that for a while. Like all of my college days, we only had those 4 places. So if Uber Eats wasn't even around then. So a lot of people weren't doing these extra side hustles. So it's just amazing remembering that to what it is now. It's just changed so much. And back then, we were in a recession. I mean, that was just after the 2008 recession, and people weren't having these side hustles like they are now. There's also one more that I wanted to watch real quick because this girl said it best also.
You shouldn't have to sell the plasma out of your body to get by. You shouldn't have to monetize your hobbies, the things you should be doing for fun, just to have a quick second stream of income. You shouldn't have to take 1,000 surveys a day or join 30 focus groups or play that little bingo, bubble pop, whatever game with the hopes of making an extra $20 so you can eat something decent for dinner. And you shouldn't have hot girl side hustles bookmarked anywhere on your technology. Now, I'm not shaming you if this is your reality, because I get it, because I've been there. These are things that I have done, thought about doing, or continue to think about doing to have some extra money. But what I am saying is that you're not special. But I'm saying that a lot of people have this lived reality, and we shouldn't.
That's so true. I mean, I talked about that in my other video about hobbies, that hobbies should be fun, and you shouldn't feel pressured to monetize your hobbies. It's amazing now that if you know how to do something, everyone's first thought is, oh, you should sell that. You should make money with that. And it all comes down to this just toxic grind culture where everything you're doing should be something productive to make you money, this toxic productivity. And I'm someone who really likes productivity, so I'm kind of prone to falling into this, honestly. And it's just so frustrating because I have to kind of stop myself like, hey, not everything you're doing needs to be for making money or for bettering yourself. It is totally fine to just chill out, read a book, a fiction book that's not something to improve your skills or improve your mindset or change your life. It's perfectly fine to just play a stupid app game while I'm sitting here just trying to relax. And that's something I always have to remind myself. But it definitely takes some work on my part to get out of that mindset. Is anyone else the same as me where, I mean, even before all of this, like I said, when I started my Etsy shop years ago, I've always had this mindset where I always want to be like doing something to bring in some money or to learn a new skill. That's how I ended up with so many freaking hobbies. If you watch that video, I just have so many things I do because I feel like I should always be building skills. And to a certain point, I do like it because I have ADHD, so I'm always getting wrapped up in new things. So I do enjoy learning new things. I enjoy building new skills, but I really hate this pressure that is put on people. And I know that not everyone is like me, where you may not like doing that. You may only want your 9 to 5, and that's also relatable. I mean, having a job where you just go, make your money, and come home is something that can be very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very consistent. It can be very consistent and it brings in your income and something you just go do and then you come home and you can live your life. Whereas me, sometimes I'm at the office, I work 9 to 6, so I get home and then I have to put together an Etsy order or something, or make these videos on my lunch break or whatever it is. So I know everyone is different with that, and I wish that we didn't have to have these extra income streams. It's just a lot to have to do, especially if you're someone with a family or you just have your own things you want to do. A lot of us are in the same boat, so it's very relatable. So with that being said, at the risk of sounding like a hypocrite, I'm going to talk about some side hustles that you can try if that's something you're looking for. Because like I said, it is something that I do. I think there's a very healthy way to do side hustles. And if you can find something that is more passive or something that can become passive or something that is a passion of yours, maybe it's something you enjoy doing, like me with my macrame. So it's something that you're doing anyway that you like doing, so why not monetize it? This is all up to you, your personal decision, but I know at least some of you will be looking for a new side hustle that you can add to bring in that extra income because, like the video said, it is something that is needed now and it's very unfortunate. So before I get into the list of side hustles to consider, I did want to play one more TikTok, and this is something that he said it better than I did. That's the same with all these TikToks. I always find someone who can put it into words better than me, but let's just watch this and discuss.
Here's why you shouldn't have multiple streams of income. Now, everybody talks about how important it is to have multiple streams of income, and I get that, but those people are usually skipping a step first, and that is to have one really strong source of income first that makes you a lot of money. Focus on getting that in place first, and then add other streams of income.
So that is such a great point, and that is the first thing you should consider if you're trying to make more money. So you need to have one solid income first, and this is what I did as well. So whether that is a steady job, so maybe even a retail job, go work at Chipotle, whatever it is, just make sure you have one solid, consistent income so that you have the freedom to kind of experiment with some other things, because the last thing you want to do is put all your eggs in one basket for a side hustle and then it doesn't work out and then your rent is due and you have no money. So for me, that was retail jobs for a while. I actually finished my master's degree like a year and a half ago, and so now I have an office job that I can do. But whatever it is to get that extra money, whether it's part-time or full-time, that is totally up to you. But the point of that TikTok is to maximize. So after you get your income stream, your main one, maximize that one before you branch out too much. So maybe this is something where if you're working part-time, you can either pick up more hours or go full-time. That would be a good way to just maximize that so it's nice and consistent. Another thing might be overtime at work. If you haven't gotten a raise and you've been there a while, maybe that's something you could look into. I'm not great with trying to ask for raises or demand raises or however you do it. I don't even know because I'm so bad at it. But I know my husband is super good at it. I don't know if this is like a men versus women thing, like if men are just more forward asking for raises. It kind of seems that way. But he is so good at getting raises at work. He knows kind of the time frame to use. I think for him it's usually like a year or so, or if someone leaves and then he ends up with a whole lot of extra work, he'll do it then. So that might be something you can do. Also, making sure you use your benefits at work. So things like the company match for retirement, that is a great one. So my job, I save for retirement, obviously, and then they match 5%. So they will apply 100% of that first 5% into your retirement account. So make sure you are doing the minimum to get that match. So in this case, make sure you are doing at least 5% to get that full 5% match. In my case, I do like, I think 12. I did do 15, but I had to lower it a bit because just life and reasons, and I need more savings right now. So I did lower it a little bit so I can build up my savings. But as my savings builds up again, I will probably get back to that 15%. But it doesn't even matter. Whatever it is, make sure you're getting that match. Any kind of benefits like that at your job, make sure you're taking advantage of those. So anyway, let's get into the side hustles. Okay, so a few things to consider. The first thing is going to be guaranteed income versus something that will make money down the road. And I talked about this a bit already. So things like Uber or providing a service for someone, you are doing the work and immediately getting payment. If you do something that is generally more creative, so something like the digital products or setting up a print on demand, whatever it is, that's something that is not necessarily guaranteed income. So I have made several, like probably literally hundreds of digital products that have not sold. So that was time I spent making things that ended up not selling. So that is something you want to think about. Are you okay with maybe having some of your time be wasted? I don't want to call it wasted because you are still building your skill in that area. So it's not completely wasted, but are you okay with having some of those items not sell after you post them? And then the second thing to consider is it scalable or not scalable? In order to be scalable, that means something that can potentially bring in more income without requiring more time or money. So again, things like digital products, things like YouTube, doing maybe even providing an online course, or you could do something like that through YouTube, like I mentioned with my tutorial videos. All of that is going to be scalable because you can potentially get more views, you can sell more products without having to do more work. Things that are not scalable, again, are going to be those things that are guaranteed income. So something like Uber, I mean, you can only drive so much in a day. Something like doing hair or nails or walking dogs or running errands for people, things that are a service you're directly providing to someone, that is something that you can only do like while you're doing the service. So you're not going to be doing Uber and walking dogs at the same time, I don't think. So that's something where you're just going to have to use up your time to be able to do that. And by the way, it is perfectly fine to do something that is not scalable. Just be aware that the money you make is going to be limited with your time. I mean, if you get really good at something, like for instance, doing hair, as you get better, people may be willing to charge more, but again, it's going to cap at a certain point. I mean, that's where market price comes in. So they're going to have an idea of what they want to pay in mind, and you're not going to be able to charge like a crazy amount beyond that. Some people can eventually, but you're probably not going to be in that camp that can do that. So I have a list in front of me, so I'm just gonna go through the list. But the things that are quick to get started and are guaranteed income. So the first one is going to be gig apps, so things like Uber, Instacart, that kind of stuff. The next would be like babysitting or pet sitting, pet walking, those kinds of things. And then also freelance services. So this is something I did. As I mentioned on Upwork, I would make PDF forms for people. I've edited book covers. Since I am really familiar with Amazon KDP, I've helped people with their Amazon books before. There are so many services on Upwork. Whatever you're able to do, if you're good at writing, if you're good at translating, that would be a really good one. I mean, just take a look at Upwork, honestly. If you have any kind of skill, and some of mine are pretty basic, like my Amazon KDP knowledge is pretty surface level, but it's enough for me to be able to help people. There's one where I even had to change the format of the book, and that's something that you only need to know Microsoft Word. So if you have a decent knowledge of how to use Microsoft Word, that was really easy. The person, his book was written kind of like poetry, where it had a very specific format to it, but instead of setting up the whole page with that format, like the whole document, he would just hit enter and space and like manually align things. So whenever he went back to add something, it would just mess up the whole page completely. So he wanted me to format it so that it would be automatic. So that was pretty easy. But he was super grateful and like gave me a really nice tip. He was so nice to work with. But yeah, I've a lot of stuff like that, just random little jobs. The only thing that really sucks about Upwork is that it takes you a long time to find the jobs. You will apply to so many jobs and not get that many. And the competition is really high because it's international. So there are people in other countries who are willing to work for way less. But don't let that discourage you, because there are a lot of people who want to work with someone in America because they want to work on their time zone. They want someone who speaks English very well. So don't be discouraged if you see that people are offering a lot less for these jobs in other countries, because that's not the end all be all with something like that. The next one is going to be creative. This is kind of a mix of scalable and not scalable. So things like Etsy, of course, you can sell so many things on Etsy. My first shop, it started as a cross stitch shop. And then I eventually moved into macrame. My second shop, I've done everything on there. I do embroidery patterns, handwriting, hand lettering templates. I do, coloring books. I used to sell planners a long time ago. I did a lot of like digital scrapbooking, digital clip art type stuff. I know that makes me sound so old because that was such an old thing. People don't do it as much, but people do still sometimes use those elements. It's just the ones I had are super outdated at this point, so I don't even worry about that anymore. But there's just so many different things you can sell on Etsy. So if you do anything creative, check it out. Etsy has a lot more competition now than it used to. I know my sales have gone down a bit, but I also don't market that much anymore, to be honest. So some of that could just be me. But and also with the economy, people don't have quite as much disposable income. They're being a little bit more cautious with what they're spending. So that's one thing to consider also. But I do highly recommend them. They did increase their fees, I think a couple of years ago, and people were really upset. But honestly, as far as like transaction fees and stuff go, Etsy still really isn't that bad. A lot of places are way higher than Etsy. So as much as it sucks that they raised it, it's still very reasonable, in my opinion. I think all of these are going to be ones that I already mentioned. So the next one is Amazon KDP. That is Kindle Direct Publishing. So it makes it really easy to publish books. And these can be any kind of book. So it doesn't have to be like a fiction or nonfiction book. It can be like a planner. It can be a coloring book. It could be some kind of activity book. Anything that you can print and sell, they will do it. So I posted several things on there and I did get some sales, but the thing is your royalties, so what you make from the sales, are going to be really low for the most part. You can obviously adjust your prices, but yeah, you're probably not gonna get a whole lot from that. But if that's something you like to do, then definitely look into it. I do recommend it. But again, that's something where you're going to have a lot of competition. And I think that's one of the reasons that my stuff didn't do that well, because I was selling things that a lot of other people are selling. So you kind of get buried in the search results. The next thing is going to be YouTube, blogging, websites, that kind of stuff. All of that is potentially scalable. So those are great options if that's something that you know how to do, or you're a quick learner and you can learn how to do it. Those are really good options. And with YouTube, it is so easy. I just record these videos on my phone. So it's pretty easy to get set up with YouTube. Things like blogging or websites, I mentioned before I had I guess at this point 3 failed websites because I just cannot be consistent with websites like I can with making videos or posting products. I I guess I'm just not into websites like that, but that's another option also. This would be a good one where you could have some crossover. Maybe you have a website that goes along with your Etsy shop, which I did for a while, and that actually worked out pretty well. Or you can have a website that goes with your YouTube channel. Just know you're probably going to be paying like a yearly fee to keep your domain name and also to keep your website up. So that's one reason that I got rid of the one for my Etsy shop. So even though I still sell a lot of that, it just wasn't worth it as far as in terms of income to keep the website, because I was paying more for the website than what I was bringing in. Well, not exactly, but the website fee took a lot of what I brought in through the website, and if people couldn't buy it there, they would probably just buy it on Etsy anyway. The last one as far as creative stuff goes is print on demand, which I mentioned. That one can be really tough as far as competition, but if you are creative, you have something unique, you know how to market it, print on demand can potentially be a really good idea. I have definitely thought about it and kind of still do sometimes with my embroidery patterns that I sell on Etsy. Those would be really easy to make into something that is print on demand, and those are unique to me, so it would set me aside, but it is so much work to get all of that set up. You have to have your listings and your pictures and find a print on demand service, and it's just a lot. And if I didn't have a day job, I would definitely try it, but I just don't think I want to do that much work for something that may or may not work out. But yeah, if you've done something like that, let me know because I'm curious if it worked out for you. Okay, so the third one is going to be low effort, passive income. And this is the one where you are probably listening very closely because that is the one that everyone wants. It's the one that I was drawn to, but it is the long-term one. So it's the one where you're not going to see this immediate growth within a month, within a year, honestly, even within 5 to 10 years. Like, this is some long-term stuff. So this is going to be having a high yield savings account that earns you interest. It's going to be investing where you earn money on your investments. Things like dividends. So my husband and I both get dividends on our investments. It's not a whole lot, but it's something. The more money you have in, the more you get, obviously. So you do have to kind of build up your income. Other things would be like cash back apps or credit card rewards points. Credit card points, you have to be careful with those because if you're someone who is not responsible with the credit card, your interest payment is going to be more than what you get from the credit card. But for me, I just put all of my necessities on the credit card and then pay it off. So like literally everything goes on there. I get like $50 a month just from credit card points. And I get it in cash back, or I just put it directly onto my credit card payment usually. So, I mean, that's a decent amount for money I was going to spend anyway. There are obviously like little things you can do, like filling out surveys or stuff like that, but I haven't ever looked into that because I hate doing stuff like that. So if I'm making like $10 from a survey, I don't care. I don't want to do it. So I know my mom's done that before. She's actually even been a secret shopper before. My mom is really good at finding these little things to do to make money, but all of that sounds like too much trouble to me. So it's something I don't want to do. But if you don't mind, I mean, that's something to look into also. And then the final one would be stuff you can do locally. So I mentioned like babysitting, pet sitting, dog walking. You could do be a tutor, like tutor, teaching, cleaning, running errands for people. Yeah, I guess that's it. There's a lot of just local things you can do. Look at if there's a local message board where people post stuff like that, Facebook. I know at our laundromat, people will post things there on the bulletin board at the library. I guess a lot of people are just using Facebook now for that, so that's one also. I know our local town has its own website that will post stuff like that. So you can always look around at places like that for jobs. Maybe even Craigslist, but I don't know, is Craigslist still really sketchy? I don't hear much about it anymore, but I think everyone moved to Facebook. But yeah, so there are different places you can look for jobs like that. All right, so that is the end of the video. This was a long one, and I really hope you got some value out of this because I had a lot to say. My voice is already starting to like crack a little bit because I've been talking so long. But this is something that I've done a lot of myself. It's something I kind of struggle with, whether or not I want to do side hustles, whether or not I want to invest my time, because I do have a family, so I don't want to take time away from my family to do this kind of thing. But whatever you decide for you, I mean, don't feel pressured to do a side hustle or to have multiple streams of income if you don't want to. I will say at the bare minimum, at least have like a long-term one, like the high yield savings account or an investment account, get some dividends, or definitely have your retirement account. That's like a must. But whatever you want to do. I do have Ally for my high yield savings account, and I have a link in the description. So if you sign up, I think you get like $100 if you use that link. So check it out if you don't already have a high interest savings account. I love that one, and I actually do my investments through Ally, so it's super convenient. And it's an online bank, so you just do everything online. It's really great. I've had them for like 15 years, I think, and I love them. But anyway, whatever you decide to do, just everyone is so different when it comes to something like this. Are you someone who is looking for a side hustle? Are you completely against them? Because I definitely see some videos now of people who are like, I am so done with side hustles. I'm done with grind culture. I am just not into it. Even though I think you can have a healthy balance. So just because you have a side hustle doesn't mean you're falling into grind culture, in my opinion. But let me know what you think. And I really hope you like this video because it took a lot of work to put it together. I'm still getting in the hang of some of these longer like commentary videos. So anyway, just make sure you do all the YouTube things, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.